Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming back and visiting with me. You know, last week we talked about a few things, and now we're going to look at can big trucks and personal vehicles play well together on the highway? We certainly can. And so what I want to do today is talk about two different items. It's going to be unsafe places to drive around a big truck or a semi, and then a little lane change issue. So let's look at those two issues, okay, guys? Now, if you're driving down the highway and you've got a semi on you, and he's in, let's say, the second lane over, you've got some blind spots there. The industry calls them blind spots, and now they're starting to change them to unsafe zones. But we'll talk about blind spots and unsafe zones. So, when I can see you in my mirrors from the back of my trailer up to about the middle of my trailer, and when you get there, I can't see you. You just drop out of sight. Fortunately, I've got a convex mirror below that great big mirror there on the door, and I can pick you up in that. So if you're on my driver's side, I can see you. Once you get up to the driver's door, then I can see you again. But if you're on the passenger side, I can't see you until you get all the way up to that fender on that passenger side of that truck. So those are some places to be aware of. I want to give you an example. I was behind the State Patrol the other day on a 3-lane highway, and there was a semi in the right-hand lane. As that trooper got up to that semi, he jumped over into that far left lane on that 3-lane highway. And he did that because he's aware of those unsafe zones, those blind spots that the truck has. And so he kept himself out of it and out of danger. As soon as he passed that semi, he got back over in that middle lane. So that's a good example of avoiding those blind spots in a truck. Another thing you don't want to do is drive in those blind spots. It's just not a good idea. It isn't safe. And part of my goal out there on the road is to keep people safe. A lot of times folks make mistakes. We all do. Truck drivers make them, and everybody else makes them. And it just happens in life. So what I want to do is try to keep people safe. So I keep an inventory of what's going on around me, especially when I'm in town, so that we can keep folks safe when they're approaching our blind spots. You just kind of keep an eye on them. We have two other places that it's really an unsafe zone. And the first one I'll talk about is back there behind me. Now, in that unsafe zone behind me, there's a statement, and I know you've heard it, and it's very true. If you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. That's just plain simple truth. That's all there is about it. Now, think about it. As the closer you get to a semi, the back of a semi, the less field of vision you have. So if there's something going on in front of that truck and you can't see it, you put yourself in jeopardy. Because if you're tailgating that truck and he has to stop real quick, you can end up being some type of statistic, a rear end accident or something like that, and God forbid a personal injury. We certainly don't want that to happen. So it's just not safe to follow a semi, especially when you cannot see his mirrors. So get around him safely. Don't drive beside him. Make sure you get on around him pretty quickly so that you don't leave yourself sitting in a blind spot. That's just not a good idea. Now, I'm sorry. The next place that's an unsafe zone is in front of the semi. Now, you'll probably noticed driving down the road that semis and big trucks, we keep a safe space between us and the vehicle in front of us. And that's usually 5 to 7 seconds. That's a good safe space for us to respond if something were to happen. I was heading south on I-75 one day, and somebody had a flat tire in the far left lane, and they cut all the way across all lanes of traffic over to the right shoulder because of that tire that blew out. Now, if it weren't for that safe zone, they wouldn't have been able to get over there, and it wouldn't have been a good situation for anybody. So that safe zone in front of a truck also gives us time to stop. We can weigh up to 80,000 pounds, and that causes that weight just kind of pushes us, has momentum there that keeps us going. So we need that area extra space to stop. The other thing is our braking system is different than yours. If you're driving a personal vehicle, you have a hydraulic braking system, which works immediately. As soon as you hit that pedal, it works. With a big truck, it doesn't work that way because we have air brakes, and it takes just a little bit of time for that air to get down the lanes and operate and function those brakes, and to release the brakes when we let off the pedal. So our braking and our stopping is going to be about at least twice what yours would be in a personal vehicle. So there's another reason we keep that safe space there, because we just want you to be safe, okay? And be aware of that. Now, if you pull in that safe space at 5 to 7 seconds and you're pulling away from it, you're creating space, I'm good with that as a driver. I don't have a problem with that at all. But if somebody pulls in front of me and slows down or drives the same speed, that can be a dangerous situation. I had a guy one day pass me and then pulled in front of me and slowed down about 10 miles an hour. And so as I went around him, passing him, I looked over and he pulled some food out. He's sitting and eating his lunch or something as he's going down the highway. Yeah, we all eat going down the road, but let's keep an eye on what we're doing. Use that cruise control so that you're moving at a steady pace and you don't cause a hazard out there, okay? Now, the other thing I want to look at is when you're driving down the road, you have a semi in the right-hand lane, and he turns his turn signal on. He puts that left turn signal on to get over in the next lane. What happens typically is we have about an 8-foot high field of vision that we can see down the road in. And we can see a long ways, a whole lot longer than a person in a personal vehicle can see. And so if we see a hazard or an obstruction in the lane, we want to get over and avoid that. Here's some situations that we try to avoid. When there's construction work going on in a lane, there's construction work going on in the shoulder, there's a broke down vehicle, an officer has a motorist pulled over, or there's a hazard in the lane of some type, or a slow moving vehicle. We want to get over one lane. Now, typically what we try to do, if there's someone out in a lane or on the shoulder of the road, we want one full lane between us and that person on the side of the road, just to keep them safe. And even though the speed limit in a construction zone may be 55, you're going to find big trucks going to slow down to 45 miles an hour. That's a courtesy that we do for construction workers so that they're safe. We just want to keep them safe out there and don't want to hurt them. I had two situations in Chicago. First one was in a construction zone. They were working on the shoulder of the road, and as soon as I saw it, I had my left turn signal on to get over in another lane, and no one would let me over. So as I got to the work area, a worker stepped out into my lane motioning me over. He could not see that I couldn't get over. He just couldn't see it because the truck was in the way, and it obstructed his field of vision. So he fortunately had stepped out of the way, and I had slowed down considerably to try to keep him safe in that situation. The other one, there was a lady who was distracted. She had a flat tire on the front of her car, and she was concerned about getting that tire fixed, and I understand that. She was on her cell phone and distracted with that, wasn't paying a lot of attention to traffic and what was going on around her, and she stepped out to take a look at that tire, and she stepped in my lane right as I got to her. Here again, I was in the same situation, had my left turn signal on as soon as I saw something up in a problem, a hazard, and people just didn't let me over. Well, I grabbed the air horn, and she probably had to go home and change her britches, okay? It was pretty close, and I'm very thankful that there wasn't an issue there, and I hope she's okay and she's got her car fixed. So there are some issues that we as drivers deal with and some problems that we have as far as dealing with our vehicles that somebody in a personal vehicle is probably not aware of. And what we try to do, part of our job as drivers, is to keep people safe. And we're the biggest, slowest thing on the road, and I know that. And I understand why you don't want to be behind us. So I promise you, if you'll let us in that lane over when we come to construction or a hazard in the road or on the shoulder, give us that space. As soon as we get past it, we'll get back over and get out of your way. Nobody wants to be behind us. We're big and slow, and you just can't see around us, and I understand that. So if you and I can work together on the road, that would be fantastic. We can get along well, and all of us can get down the road and get home safely to our families at night. All right, we're going to end it up right here. Next week, I'm going to be talking to you about merging traffic, getting on the highway from the shoulder. And I've got a story to tell you about my My safety director called me up one day because somebody complained about it. It's an interesting story. I think you'll like it and find it very funny. So I'll share that with you next week. Guys, I really appreciate it. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, please do that. I only do a post once a week. Hit that ding-dong bell down there to give you a reminder that Buddy's put out another post. So, guys, take care. I certainly appreciate you stopping by. And y'all be safe this week, and I'll see you down the road, okay? Take care.